Well, Barbie's out of here, so let's get that out of here because best original screenplay with Barbie no longer in this category. This category just actually got significantly more interesting, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're talking about best original screenplay. I have 13 names here, and to be honest, you know what? I've actually taken some jabs unfairly at best original screenplay. I said this was a weak category, and I think there is partly truth in what I am saying. And here's what I'll say. I think there are about five good names here. I think everything else is a pretty big fall off in some of the names here, at least in real competitors competition here. Not that I actually think some of these screenplays are bad. It's just for whatever reason, they're not getting the momentum or track to go anywhere. Thus, we have these five names that honestly, at this point, I kind of think they're the five names. So let's just kind of talk about this race. And I have one, two, three, four, five categories here. So let's talk about these five categories that I have. And I have 13 names that I'm going to be reading off today. So let's talk about number 13 and number 12, which is a category I call OK Letterbox. And it sounds exactly the tone that I'm trying to convey it in, which is just essentially I'm seeing people be like, okay, maybe this should get in there, or maybe this is deserving of it, or really it's in contention. Maybe this could get a surprise one. Stop. Just stop right now. I got bad news for you. Even if you love these movies, which admittedly I don't love these two films, but even if you did, just like realize you're talking to all your letterbox friends here, or you're talking all to your Twitter friends, and you're all just finding each other and you're all just cheering this movie. And then in reality, like everyone else is like, yeah, that's a little weird, or yeah, that's funny, but like great movie, sure. Yeah, sure. I don't know how to judge that, and that's why I've already annoyed people with this comment that I have already. But number 13, I have Bottoms, which is just a screenplay that just did not work for me. And I find it to now be starting to get into the point where I'm just like, I'm seeing such fan fervor for this screenplay, and I don't get it. I really don't. I really tried getting it. I even tried rewatching it, and maybe it's just the sense of a screenplay not for me. But this is a comedy. This is a high school comedy. This is a far out there high school comedy at that is very exaggerated and very cartoonish in some of its violence. It's just not getting in. Number 12, I respect this movie more than I like it, and I don't think it's like the most impossible thing to get it. It's not getting it this year, to be frank. And that's Beau is Afraid, a movie that I admired and was interested in watching and understanding what the director was doing with this film. I think the screenplay is very at times on the nose. I got it. Like it was so overbearing, and I think that's the point of the movie. In fact, it's not even that I think that like that is the point of the movie, and I respect it for doing that. However, it's just like I think it's going to turn off a lot of people, and the bizarre nature of this film is just not going to work for a lot of audiences. Like I said, I really struggled with Beau is Afraid, and it ended up being a movie that I liked parts of it, but it didn't all come together. And that's why it's coming in at number 12. I call this category Sickos Like Me, which I'm now going to list two movies that aren't really sicko. They're just more movies that I liked and I wish were getting nominations, but they're not. And it's number 11, I have Asteroid City, which is Wes Anderson. Number 10, I have Dream Scenario starring Nicolas Cage. Both movies that I think are really funny, both movies that I think are trying to say a lot. And they're maybe a little convoluted or very overstuffed in what they're trying to explain or talk about. But when I love these movies, I love these movies. And that's why I have them in this conversation. I wish of the two, I actually really wish Dream Scenario was getting some more love. Not that I don't have anything against Asteroid City, a film that I found wonderful. It's just that I found Dream Scenario when it worked. I found it to be one of the best films of the year. I guess the counter point to that is when the movie falls apart at times, or it's too heavy. I guess you could say like it's carrying too much weight in what it's trying to say, and it just all kind of starts collapsing in on itself. It doesn't work, but like I said, it has the highest of highs and some lows. I'll give it that. That's why it's coming in at 11 and 10. So now we have the uphill battle. Three movies that I actually would prefer to see nominated than what I'm actually a little afraid will get nominated. Let's talk about them. At number 9, I have The Boy and the Heron, which is Miyazaki's new Studio Ghibli film. This movie has a lot to say about the artist and Miyazaki himself, and it is essentially an old master saying goodbye and what that means, the emotional resonancy of all that. I just found this film to be one that I didn't always fully connect to, but one that the more I've thought about it, the more I've respected. So to see this one get a best original screenplay, it won't happen. I don't really see any future of it happening, but it would be well deserved if it came into it. Number eight, I think I'm buying into the Iron Claw hype a little bit too much. I think its best chance of getting a nomination is Zac Efron and maybe some other below the line categories. I'd love to think that this can get an original screenplay. I think these top at least four are so solidified that it's just hard to believe that the Iron Claw would kind of come in out of nowhere and get that nomination. But I would love it. Number seven, I have Air, which I actually think is pretty tightly written. I think there's a lot of good in it. I think the screenplay is very witty, it's very banter heavy, and it's doing something that Hollywood really likes. It's giving a lot of talented stars the opportunity to just cook for minutes on end. Like there is a good amount of monologues that happens. Bateman gets one. Damon obviously gets the iconic one now at the end. Viola Davis has her jokes. Ben Affleck gets his moment. Like everyone gets to shine in the screenplay, and it's very well spread out, I guess you could say. I really would like to see this one over a few of the other ones that I have, but it's just like I said, it's just an uphill battle. But before we go any further, let's take a quick ad break and hear from our sponsors on today's episode. The new year brings new year resolutions, and I can tell you one of mine's is hygiene. I really want to focus on my personal hygiene, and that's why I'm glad our friends over at Manscaped are introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It's every man's cheat code to look good and feel good and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're looking to maintain a trim or goes for that clean shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. And I know what every man is thinking right now. I would never want to put a blade down there. That's just too scary. Well, the good thing is Manscaped's got you covered because they are equipped with two skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. It's like having a personal stylist at your fingertips. And did I mention the best thing about Manscaped? This razor, you want to use it in the shower? Well, guess what? It's waterproof. Get yourself the MVP of 2024 Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and get 20% off and free shipping with the code FilmSchoolDrop at manscaped.com. That is FilmSchoolDrop at manscaped.com because nothing says Happy New Year like a deal that leaves your balls and your budget feeling refreshed. And then number six, I call this category, and it only has one film in it. It only has one film. But if the Academy was to give this film a nomination, then the whole Academy Awards was a mistake. Because, God help me, I loved certain aspects in Emerald Fennell's Saltburn. I think her direction is top notch. What she does, what she and her crew does with lighting, I found to be absolutely wonderful. I think she directs incredible performances in Saltburn. My issue with Saltburn is the second you start like itching the top of the screenplay, it just starts falling apart. It doesn't really make much sense. It feels very hollow. I just don't think Fennell was the right person to tell this story, and I don't think she knew what she wanted to tell, for being fully honest. So, and I've seen this meme. This is an original one. Emerald Fennell, the director, thumbs up. Emerald Fennell, the screenplay, eh, not the hugest fan. And that was kind of my issue with Promising Young Woman. The one thing I will say about Promising Young Woman screenplay that I do find very different in this is I found Emerald Fennell to be speaking from a place of brimstone, anger, and truth and personal experience that she was able to relate into the screenplay of Promising Young Woman. So while there are aspects of Promising Young Woman that maybe don't work for me as well, it was still my favorite movie of 2020. I do think that what she brings to that screenplay was so overwhelming that I bought into some of the narrative lapses that I don't love within Promising Young Woman. Saltburn, I kind of had the exact opposite issue where I'm just like, everything, the style of this movie, the look, everything, like I really enjoy it in the performances, but the screenplay is just driving me crazy. So I really don't want to see Saltburn in the top five, which leaves our top five. This is it's a pretty good category, actually. I don't love that Maestro is probably the number five at this moment, but Bradley Cooper's not going to get the director nom, most likely. He'll get the actor nom, but I don't think he's going to get the win. I think this is the case where we're probably going to see Maestro get a lot of nominations and probably no wins. But I think they do want to give Cooper, because he'll get three nominations if he gets this. He'll get Best Actor, he'll get Best Screenplay, he'll get Best Picture. So I think that is likely to happen. So I do kind of have just Maestro penciled in here at number five, because if it doesn't get in, I just like, I don't love the alternative of Saltburn being the number five, excuse me. Number four, you know what? I'm gonna switch something right now. Number four, I'm gonna give it to May December. A movie that I've talked about, movie that I don't love as much as other people do, but I think Todd Haynes' screenplay at times is undeniable, and I think he certainly does some good work here as a screenplay writer. So I'm gonna get it to number four. Even if it's just specifically like you can just point to the way that he characterizes Charles Melton's character in the writing and just some of the gaslighting characteristics of Julian Moore. I think those are the parts of this movie that excel. I do believe this is probably a screenwriter's like dream movie. Like I bet you screenwriters are going pretty crazy over May, December. So I have it at number four. I don't really see it in a world getting the win, but I do think it is very likely to get the nomination. Number three, I just switched it. I have Past Lives here at number three. Maybe that's too low, honestly. I just saw Past Lives. I really like Past Lives. I'll talk about it more when I do a review of it. First time director, I don't know. Actually, I hope she's a first time director. I believe she is, but maybe I'm wrong. If I am wrong, I do apologize for that. I just think Past Lives has a lot of fan support. A24 is good at campaigning. And like I said, screenplay always does like to reward new voices. This is the category that saw Jordan Peele get his win in Get Out. Emerald Fennell won her Oscar for Promising Young Woman in this screenplay category. Original screenplay does like to give it to new voices. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Past Lives maybe even competing for the Chew spot and maybe even for the win. Who knows? Maybe this will grow in people's appreciations. And if this film goes over nominated at the Academies, like maybe all of a sudden we see Greta Lee nomination and a John Milagro nomination. Apologies, I know I mispronounced that name, John. If we see that, maybe all of a sudden, like this thing actually has a really good chance of winning. So we'll see. I think Past Lives is pretty comfortably in this category, which leaves True films. And here's the question: at the Golden Globes a few nights ago, Anatomy of a Fall won this category, and it was going up against The Holdovers. Do I buy that? Do I buy that will happen at the Academy Awards? I buy both films will get nominated. That's why I have them both on this top True list. But do I buy Anatomy of a Fall will get the nomination and win? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think The Holdovers is a strong one, if that's what you're asking me. I don't think it's like I don't think it's in complete non-danger to lose. Like I think it could lose. I don't know if Anatomy of the Fall is the screenplay to beat. Now, it is a lawyer movie, so there is a lot of talking. There's a lot of monologues. Films like that typically do fairly well in this awards race, so maybe that's the aspect of it working in favor. It will have a huge international support. And the Holdovers, in the case of Alexander Payne, he's won his Academy Award. Like, they'll have time to nominate him again and possibly give him the win again. So are you giving it to him for the Holdovers? Even in talking right now, there's a lot of compelling cases for Anatomy of a Fall deserving to be in the number one spot. And you know what? I'm gonna I bought into my Kool-Aid. I buy into the idea that it will get an international support, that the lawyer aspect of it will help with this movie just because of how many like long dialogue sequences. Like this is a film constantly full of talking. I'm gonna buy into it. Number two, I have Alexander Payne's The Holdovers, and number one, I have Justine Tritt's Anatomy of a Fall. I don't know if that should be the case, but it is the case for now. And in a few days, and when we see the nominations, and maybe in a month, I'll revisit it. But for right now, I buy that the Golden Globes could be a precursor for this one. I don't typically buy the hype of the Golden Globes, and I don't think they mean that much in the context of this. However, I do accept that one to at least maybe have some truth. The argument against it would be that the Golden Globes are silly, they're dumb, both factually true. Ceremony was a disaster, wasn't it? Joe Coy is not a good host. And the other point of contention would be that is the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So they're going to nominate an international feature. So that could be the argument against the Golden Globes, or it's like, okay, well, they had the chance to give it to an international feature. They're going to do it and not reward Alexander Payne. Maybe that's the case. So maybe I'm even talking myself out of Anatomy of a Fall at number one, but I'm going to stick with my gut here. I'll just go Anatomy of a Fall at number one in this category, and we'll see what happens next. So thank you all for watching. Take care. And let me know, do you agree with my best original screenplay nominations? Let me know. And thank you all for watching. Take care.